anything or anything
Solid.
like that.
Cool. All right, let's rock and roll. We are first one of the year doing this, and we haven't even seen each other this year. It's only the fourth, so I know this week's always weird. I think getting back in rhythm for everybody, and people are still on vacation, and things are still kind of quiet. But I love that we're kind of getting back this week and trying to hit the ground running. So this will be fun. But I wanted to talk to you to kind of kick off the year, just about kind of in retrospect, what happened last year, both personally for you, business wise for you, and with the market, and then also kind of painting that picture forward of like, okay, what's coming? What are we all getting excited for? So that being said, maybe just a quick intro, and then we'll dive in.
Yeah, thanks so much. So my name's Tony Ubaldini. I've been with Core Group a little over 5 years now. Had a good 2023 with a lot of both personal and professional changes. So professionally, I made my first hire, hired an assistant, Max. He's actually my younger cousin. And so that's been interesting, being a manager of somebody, managing their time, managing their mistakes and their messes ups, managing why he's doing something as opposed to do this and step by step just get that done. I wanted him to know why we were doing stuff. So that's been interesting, having somebody on a team with me, and kind of working that with clients as well. Personally, big year, bought my first house this year as well, or 2023. So that was huge. That was a long time coming. And also I enjoy traveling. So got to travel both in the United States, went to Colorado, went to Buffalo, New York to visit family. And then also did some international travel to one of your favorite places. I went to Barcelona, Spain, and then over to Portugal as well after that. Got to celebrate both a good buddy's wedding over there. He had a destination wedding over there. And funny enough, 2 days before it was my birthday. So got to celebrate my 30th, 30 over there in Portugal, which was awesome. So yeah, definitely cool to look back. It was a fun year.
Yeah, 2023, man. Yeah, for a lot of people, it wasn't fun. For some, it was. Would you have thought, go back 5 years, that's a big jump to say, man, I'm hiring people, I'm traveling all over the world. Did you go to Costa Rica or Mexico? Where else did you go?
Colombia as
Colombia?
Well. Yeah,
okay.
Good memory. That's crazy. Yeah, South America. I forgot to mention that. That was another destination.
Yeah, you never told me you were leaving,
well.
So I would just be like, I'd be trying to reach out and like, I'm in Colombia. Can I call you back? Like, okay. So
yeah, but
it's becoming normalcy
for you.
Yeah, you did. You did.
I see you calling. I'm answering. I took the international charge.
So yeah, think back 5 years, ago. Tell me about that journey.
Yeah, never would have thought, if I'm thinking kind of just starting out, Core Group, brand new. So going back, I graduated from UCF with my degree in real estate. And before that, I was just a server working at Chili's in the restaurants, just trying to get through college, and knew that I wanted to be in real estate, really enjoyed the classes itself. And so when I first did research on you and Core Group, I knew it was a place that I really wanted to be. But it's crazy to think in 5 years, I guess I never would have imagined being able to have built and grown my business to where it's at. I feel much more confident, not only within myself, but also within the professional industry, and being able to help others. New things are always coming up, new challenges, but you're actually somebody that told me early on, where you don't know everything, but you've got to be able to figure it out. I think you had an example with like a fire alarm or smoke, the water sprinkler system. You're like, I never dealt with this before, but I'm going to work through it. And so I feel more comfortable now to work through issues rather than in the past when I first started. That was something I was more afraid of. So now I kind of welcome those challenges, and am also have done good to stay ahead of any issues and kind of see those before they happen, so I don't put myself in bad situations.
You're right. So like think about new agents coming into the business or really in any kind of business. I mean, I think the fear is that you fear that someone might think you're incompetent because you don't know something. And so often, like we can't know everything. We haven't dealt with every scenario, every situation. And I use that oftentimes with like, when you're interviewing or something, like you want to hire the person that is equipped to go figure it out and get the answers. So like, how have you dealt with that? Like what are some examples of that maybe would be helpful for, somebody new in the industry that's like, man, you just bought your first house after 5 years of doing this. So you had not bought your first house yet. How could you know what it's like to help someone buy a house, right?
Yeah, certainly. I think to your point, it is okay to not know everything, but you have to do your due diligence to know what information you do have access to. So I was actually speaking about this to our pod today in regards to hosting an open house. So it's important that you know what I would say the basics are. What's the square footage? What's the lot size? What's the age of the roof? These are answers that you need to be able to provide to a potential buyer that is interested in this home. Now, if they ask you things that maybe you don't know right off the top of your head, that you want to make sure to get back to them, that's fine. But it's important that you do your homework, you do act professionally, especially when you're newer. I almost overstudied or knew more information about the house. I knew what the taxes were last year if I got that question. So I tried to do all of the due diligence on my side first and foremost, so that when I was client facing, I felt more confident. And then if something came up that I didn't know, I kind of leaned into it. I would be like,
Right.
wow, good question. I don't know who owns the property behind this house, but let me find that out for you and make sure you get back to them same day, timely manner. I'll get back to you with that. And once again, I kind of, oh, good one. I didn't think of that. That's a smart thing to ask and to want to know. So as long as you're kind of socially being being fun with it and making sure that you're kind of talking through all of it with the potential client, I think is important. But it's only until you provided a lot of value that I can say, oh, you got me on one question or two questions. It
Right.
it hurts you if you don't know anything. Oh, they're asking X, Y, and Z. Let me get back to you on all of these points. Well, what do you know? So I think
Right.
that's the common misconception. You got to know as much as you can know, but it's okay to not know everything.
Yeah. It's interesting. Let's push in on that a little bit because I think this is just more from a sales standpoint, right? Like I've always loved having reasons to follow up. I think in our industry specifically, people need that time to digest houses as they see them. Like it's not every once in a while you walk in and you're like, I know it. I don't need to think about it anymore. But usually that's somebody who's been looking for 6 months. They've not been successful. They know they want that community, right? They don't have all the questions because they've already done the research on the micro market. But a lot of people come with different, like we've owned a lot of houses now. And so there's things that I think about now when I look at a house differently than I would have my first or second house. And that comes with like an experience. If you had a bad neighbor behind you, you might want to know who the neighbor is behind them. Like, what is their situation, right? So I always think it's funny trying to understand with customers, like, where's that question coming from? Like, because it helps us get better and go deeper with kind of how we think about the process for people.
That's such a good point. Understanding their why. Why are you asking about this? Why do you inquire about these questions? Because that also helps you in the future. So to that example currently, if they are questioning who the neighbor is behind them, next time we go on a tour, I'm going to be looking at that for the future so that I'm
Yeah.
prepared for that. Same with HOA is a common one. What am I paying $200 for? What does it get me? Is it a community pool, community park, stuff like that? So a lot of times, starting to learn your clients and learn the kind of frequently asked questions that they have, so that in the future we go on more showings or more tours, I'm ready to answer those because, to your point, they had an issue in the past with a previous home. So let's make sure to stay ahead of that now for all of our showings in the future. So that's something
And
that
if
I've really been good with.
Isn't it funny too? You'll have people that would never want to be in an HOA, and then on the flip side of that, you'll have somebody that's like, I only want to be in an HOA because I've lived outside of one, and my neighbor, kept the car in their front yard or something, right? And it's like, it's so funny because you never know what you're walking into when we go to meet somebody on some of our listings. I had one recently. It was like a um, historic district, and the question was like, and you can run from these questions like, is this in a like deeded historic district? And so on one side you have people that are like, I would never want to do that because they tell you what to do, they control what you can do with the property. And then on the other side, it's like, no, I absolutely love that. I love the charm and the that it kind of controls the neighborhood to some extent. You never know what you're going to get, right? Like a lot of times these questions are they're just questions. They're not something to be fearful of. And I think a lot of, especially newer agents, get trapped in like fearful of giving the correct answer with backed up facts and details about what they're asking.
Certainly, yeah, that's a really good point, and that's kind of why I love this industry, is because you don't know who you're gonna get, you don't know what type of needs that you're looking to service for them. So that's why it makes sense to really get to know each other, and it's important to be with a good agent, but also vice versa. It's got to be that open lines of communication and that relationship there, because this is a big deal. Buying a house, hundreds of thousands of dollars is a lot, and where somebody's going to live and raise their family is very important. So from my end, I always make sure to take good care of that.
Let's talk about you for a minute because you had a good year last year. You had a fun year last year, it sounds like. But you were able to start to keep it all together. And I think, after 5 years of rhythm, do you feel like you're starting to get to a place where you're becoming a business versus, early on, it's just a salesperson, right? We're running out and kind of like a chicken with her head cut off, trying to catch a worm every once in a while. But now just watching you and hearing about your year, now I'll just give you some accolades here. You're one of the top producers in the company. You were leading the way in terms of activity. We track heavily our CRM, kind of activity throughout there. You were the guy. You were the one in terms of appointments set. I actually have some real numbers here. You set you had 320 appointments. That's essentially an appointment a day. You had, looks like, almost 2,000 calls, outbound from you. So like, and we always talk about that, like controllables, the things we can control. We can't control how many buyers are in the market. We can control our activities. So like, talk about that for a minute. Like, what does that look like for you to actually start to be able to have a life, be able to go buy a house, be able to go and travel, but also lead the way in terms of your activity?
Yeah, I think a lot of it is to credit for you, because we wouldn't know this if we weren't tracking it. And you're very competitive. I've always looked up to you and what you do. So I think kind of leading by example is what started this. I've seen your follow-up boss numbers when you were making your calls, and I've heard you in the office as well.
I'm
So
still
I think
making calls.
I know it. I know it. And so there's that level of like competitiveness for me, because like you said, control your controllables, and that's one of them, to make sure that setting appointments, making calls. I really shine face to face, I feel like. So that's why I do try to get as many appointments as possible. So some of those were at Starbucks, at a coffee shop. Some of them were at a house. Some of them were at their house that they're thinking of selling. So I just always try to get face to face, and that's what a lot of those phone calls are kind of regarding. Let's meet up, let's talk. I never have a problem going to see a client in person. Um, but to kind of answer your question, my business does feel a lot better. It does feel more like a business rather than my hair on fire like the first year or two. I do feel more in that rhythm. Once again, credit to you with the greatness tracker. That's been helping keep my days structured so that I'm not waking up, hey, what am I doing today? And we've got a systematic approach to what our day looks like. And once we get all of the tasks done that you're supposed to get done, you've always told me try to get that completed by 12 o'clock. So the afternoon could be used for either appointments or more time for prospecting and just more things. But do what you're supposed to do in the first part of the day, get that done so that you pretty much won the day, and anything extra is just extra credit, icing on the cake.
I love it. And it also gives us that ability to like feel like we've done enough sometimes, even though we never feel like we've done enough. Isn't that like early on, you're like, you lay awake at night, like, what else do I need to do? What else, you're making notes, or you don't know what to do. And you're like, I'm just, down on yourself. So like that's been the other thing for me, is like just getting to a place of being able to be like, okay, maybe I didn't sell a house today, but I've done the things that I can control.
Absolutely. How do you do that more systematically? How do you feel like you complete tasks? Is it the greatness tracker? Is that what you use as well?
Yeah, it's the same. It's the same process. Um, yeah, I mean, I think having like we've themed it. We have our theme days, and so we talk about that. And if you wake up with that rhythm of here's the things I've got to achieve today. The other thing I do is I'll have like a top five. I call it my high five, and me and Jess kind of work back on that. And it's like here's things we've got to make some movement on today, some progress. Hopefully, we can just complete it. And a lot of times it's little stuff. It's but so often we lay awake at night with a little thing that would take us 2 minutes to actually complete, running around in our head because we never had a process to actually get it done. So the theme day, getting those calls done, and then obviously, or some of those kind of minor tasks, like just making progress. There's always a customer that's like, man, I need to go tweak their search because things have changed, right? And that takes me minutes to actually do really well. Um, I, how often we just don't, because we're so busy doing other things that are far less meaningful.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. That was something that we kind of touched on today on our meeting as well, was doing things that make sense. One of my resolutions was to stop scrolling so much on social media. And I recently read it's because you're bored that you pick up the phone to do that, not because you're actually getting any sort of content or anything out of it. So it's because you've got to just fill your time, and you're not filling
so
it
what
in
do
the
you
right
do?
way.
What do you do to actually change that? Like, is it you put time limits on it? Do you delete something? Do you just hope to be better?
Yeah, so what I read was actually sit in that boredom where you are bored, you see your phone sitting there, sit there for however long, a minute, 2 minutes. I don't know if I could sit there 5, 10 minutes and do nothing, but instead of that split second decision to pick up your phone and just start scrolling, and that turns into 5 minutes, 10 minutes, a half an hour, now all of a sudden we've wasted all of that time. What they recommended was take a break. That's what that boredom is. Take a break and actually sit in it, and then from there maybe you can snap out of it and do something more productive with your time. So that's something that I'm going to be trying. I would say I'm not awful with social media, it's not all I do, but I have caught myself like, why do I need to be looking at more of these videos? Let's get some more things done.
You want to do a screen time look real quick? You want to go
Yeah,
live
let's
with
do it.
this? I don't know what mine is, but I'll look at it. Fully
I think it's
transparent.
under settings,
It's
right?
under settings. Let's see all website activity. We'll go to social. What does social say? All right. I don't know that I'm proud of it. Hour and 27 minutes
On which one? On Instagram, or on what category are you on?
on social total. So that would be TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. It's funny. It's so funny how like my Facebook usage is almost nil now. The other two have just taken over.
Are you by day or by week?
That was by day.
Okay, by day.
So
I'm a
on
little bit.
average, daily average. Let's see if I can find that. Yeah, it's about the same on the daily average.
Okay. I'm more than you. I'm 2 hours.
You're 2 hours. All right.
2 hours.
Um,
My messages. Yep.
I did have my, and I will say it's interesting, and I don't know what you think. Like, used to, I would watch TV, I guess, before social. I would think, like, you go back. So I'm not trying to justify the social media use, but I feel like a lot of my time using it now is not in work hours. It would be in lieu of sitting and watching the news or something. Like, I feel like, like usually my kids hog the TV. So I'm kind of in the kitchen doing something and I've got something playing. So I don't know how you use it. I mean, so do you have big, like, long pickups during the day where it's like you're blowing 10, 15 minutes?
Yeah, I would say
No
it's
wrong
not.
answer. Just curious.
Yeah, no, I would say it's not necessarily like an hour at a time. It's more, yeah, 5, 10 minutes here, 5, 10 minutes there. And I think it's because I am about to start a next task, and it's once again, I gotta do something. I gotta do something with my 5 to 10 minutes and break up that time. And then that adds up to a 2 hour time frame a day. So
Yeah.
that's interesting. I haven't looked at that metric before, so that's
The
interesting
other,
to see.
the other thing to do is throw on the alert. So, hey, you get 20 minutes on it, and it'll just make you'll have to at least acknowledge that you're going over your time. So that's an easy way to do it too, where you got to put in your code. Um,
Okay.
so then it's like, okay, if it's 9 o'clock and you're chilling out and whatever, like, okay, I'm over. But if it's 10 a.m. and you've already hit your limit, like, okay, maybe you should reconsider.
Certainly. Well, kind of to that
Just
same
thought.
point, what you've always kind of prefaced on is time blocking. And that's been helpful to me. If we say we're making an hour of calls, it's interesting. Sometimes I find myself at the 35-minute, 45-minute mark saying, I'm done. And
Yeah.
it's almost the opposite effect. Like, go make a couple more calls, go to that additional 15 minutes, go to the full time because we're doing something that is or should be productive to you as compared to limiting your time on social media. I almost want to try to start maximizing that full hour block to do full
Right.
effective work.
Um, do you ever plan social media time?
I don't. I
So do you
don't.
post, like, for? It's funny, we talk about it and always have mixed feelings on this because we rely on it for so many marketing. Every company does now, right? I mean, I'm not paying for billboards. I'm paying for views and activity that I can gain some interest in that's specific to me. So when we downplay it, it's like it's an important thing for the connection now, and I love the ability to get direct in front of consumers. Um, so how often are you posting, and how much time is spent doing that, or is that something Max is doing?
Lacking there, I have had Max start posting more on our behalf for the company. We've been doing just more so closings, but also we're trying to do more just day-to-day activities so that you can show that we're out, we're at inspections, we're showing properties, we're doing things. As of right now, our feed is just closings, so which is
Yeah.
good. But sometimes people want to see how you got there, what that behind the scenes is, what that day-to-day looks like. Social media really has never been my strong suit, both personally or professionally. I have always struggled with that, but it is a part of our lives. It is important. So I have been kind of leaning into it more so, both personally, posting the photo of my house, posting trips and pictures there, and being able to show my friends and family what I'm up to has been good. But then also professionally, being able to celebrate these closings, celebrate these clients that have entrusted me throughout the process, to show those victories and to highlight that for anybody else that's looking at our business page.
I've had this. I'll drop this here because I've had this long-standing dream of doing like epic closings just to leverage up these things. So I don't know. Here'd be an example. Something really stupid, like a closing on a boat or a closing on the Orlando Eye. Before it
Okay.
goes around. You get your time, or like a closing in the back of a Jeep off-roading. I don't know. I'm just like, I'm trying to think about how creative we get. So, Tony, maybe in 2024, you've got the perfect group of people that you work with that would, I think, eat something like that up.
Okay, the first thing that comes to mind, I've recently done it. How about escape room? Where at the end they got to get the key to their house. You gotta get out in an hour or whatever it is, and escape room to get the key.
If you could sign inside the, yeah, I love it. Yeah, sign inside the escape room and then get out. Like that would be just epic. So that kind of video content would be just fire.
Oh, that's so unique, so different. Instead of just always at the title office at the closing table, something different like that, I think would be a lot of fun. And you're right, I've got a lot of friends in my age, my demographic right now that are looking to purchase, have purchased already, and more that are looking to purchase. So I think a lot of those would be up for something like
epic
that.
Closings in 24.
Oh,
I love it.
Orlando.
Let me ask you. So one thing I know, we talked about like kind of your routine a little bit. You work out a lot. Like that's kind of one of your things you don't miss, right? You got that time blocked. You show up, you get it done almost without question. Yeah.
Yeah, certainly. I've been going for many years now. I try to hit 4 or 5 days a week, and that's something that I really enjoy, both mentally and physically. It's been great for me.
How what's your routine like there? Like, is that a are you structured in that? Do you have like are you very like formulated with chest day, back day, leg day? Like how what is your routine like?
Yeah, I've got splits that I usually do, like chest and triceps, back and biceps, things of that sort. But funny that you mentioned that. I've been doing the same workout and the same routine for a while now, and I think it makes sense. They call it muscle confusion to be doing other things, whether it be different types of exercises. Now getting a little bit older, I may take a play out of your book and start doing just like activities. I know you started picking up basketball as well. Like, I don't need to be throwing around weights. If I'm running around the court and getting some cardio in and having fun with friends and buddies and doing something athletic, that certainly counts. So that's something more I want to do. Ping pong, if you count that, I'd still love to play with you. More pickleball, something like that.
I don't count that, but yeah, I do like to play. Okay, but I wouldn't count it for your cardio day.
I'm gonna have you running from side to side with the table. Okay, I'm gonna hit it both corners, so you're gonna be running.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I'm a little nervous. I've been talking trash for 5 years now, so
good.
The day will come. I won't be prepared, but the day will come.
I'll have it set up in my house. I'd love to have you.
We'll do it. We might not do it. I'll have an excuse. I'm gonna start wrapping my wrist before I come over, and injuries or something. No, I do. I've loved finding activities to kind of replace some of the effort. Like I hate more than anything going and getting on a treadmill at the gym. That's just like seems like such a waste of time, and I'm bored. And some people like that. I get it. So for me, I've been trying to find, and this would be true across just about everything I do, like anywhere I can find synergy that it almost makes you forget that you're doing the activity. Like when I'm competing on the leaderboard with you, man, I'm not really like, it's a different mindset. I've always loved workouts and, where I can compete. If you're at a practice I just think back in like high school, your baseball practice or basketball practice, or whatever, like, man, you're just playing the game. You're exerting yourself at a level, but you're not thinking about that. You're taking your mind off of the actual disciplined activity. So I don't know. I think too, like, doing workouts when I can do them and, lifting weights. I heard somebody the other day, I'm trying to think who it was. Essentially said, if you want to be strong, carry heavy things around. It's like, oh, that actually makes a lot of sense. I think that's where I did decide at that moment, that's where the dad bod comes from. You got strong dad muscles because you literally carry kids all the freaking time.
Sure.
But yeah, it's true. It's like, it's not that you're exerting yourself at like in a deadlift format, but like carrying heavy stuff changes things.
Certainly.
So I don't know. I've been trying to put that to work.
Yeah, definitely. And the synergy, like you said, if you can do it with a partner, if you can have somebody that's accountable with you, or just friends, and you're going to play pickup basketball and you're getting together with a group, you're exerting yourself, you're running up and down the court, but you're playing, you're having fun.
You're playing. It doubles down on our networking activities. I'm getting to see some people that I really like doing life with, who are good business, business referrers or business partners. Yeah, I mean, there's like, I think that's like the where we've got to start taking our businesses now is full synergistic, right? Where everything is kind of layering in itself. That the communication with our business partners is happening while we're doing our workouts. It's like it just makes life more fun and easier. Just
I
to
really like that idea, and that's something that I think I could definitely continue to improve on, so that it's not so um, something that it's something you look forward to rather than something you're not you're dreading. If you're calling your
yeah.
buddy to talk about your client, but then also talk about basketball, that's a way easier call to make. So I like that. I wanted to ask you, kind of touching back on the 5 year. You think back to what was it, 2024? So 2019. What did you think your 5 year plan was going to look like, and how has that
Mm.
changed?
Well, yeah. If we go back 5 years, so that was good. So for me, we opened Core Group in 2015, and so 2020 was always that year I had like pegged for like really kind of hitting stride. It just takes time to really get going from a business standpoint. So, and then yeah, you came in 2019. Is that right? 20
20
2018.
end of 2018, correct?
2018. Um, yeah, it's funny because, and you've experienced it now. Like we bring in new agents that have so much potential, oftentimes, that don't realize it. And so that's been the joy and the disappointment of my role for so long is like, I can't want things more for people than they want for themselves. I can want that, but I can't actually help them fulfill that if they're not willing to do the work. And so I'd say that was the thing for you that was just set you apart so differently was you were willing to do the work. You were willing to show up. You were willing to compete. I didn't have to tell you to get out of bed in the morning. I mean, that gets old real fast. You can show somebody a new future and a new routine and what will work and what has proven to work over time. But those that actually continue to show up day after day after day is far and few between. So, and I think back and I was looking at this recently, like the amount of people that have come and not succeeded exceeds those that are with us. And we've got about almost 40 agents, right? So, that means we've had 45 people roughly come and leave because it wasn't working for them. And whether it wasn't working for them, could have been something personal. There's a story behind every one of them. And for a long time and early on in that process, I took that very personally, you know, um, that maybe I didn't make a good pick, that I didn't ask them the right questions early. But man, it's hard, to find those that are willing to just get after it.
Certainly. Kind of to that point, do you take a little bit less off yourself when you are hiring, that this person could be good on paper, could be good in front of you, but if they don't work out from 3 to 6 months, do you kind of say, not really your fault for that? It was them, because as you've said, with this structure, we have very many successful agents within our brokerage that are following this model. So if that didn't work for that one person, do you kind of take less off of yourself as like, that's your fault?
Yeah, I don't feel like I necessarily take fault in it anymore. Just because I can look back and be like, man, there's some very talented people. Now, I think part of this, I'm really, you know, thinking a lot about like what college is for people now. Um, and I'm more through the lens of like my kids when they get there, right? I've got a almost 11-year-old, so we're only 7 or 8 years out from that. Um, like what are they producing? And I don't know that it's the colleges failing necessarily, maybe the parents or maybe the school system altogether, but like there's been very qualified people that would be great employees that aren't cut out to actually show up and do the work that they determine they want to do. They're not entrepreneurial. They're not going to be go-getters. They're people, you're very structured in your workouts. Some people need Orange Theory, right?
Sure.
There's just two very different scenarios. And I think the Orange Theory, if you relate that to us, is more of you could be an A player in a big corporation, and I think our systems are putting more people, are creating more people that have that mindset than those that are saying, man, I'm willing to take a chance on myself and I'm going to outwork everybody around me. That kind of mentality is just really hard to find. So yeah, that's where it's tough watching people that come in and they have a little pep in their step because they think they're gonna walk in and start having success, and they see the numbers of the ability to go make money. But I guess at some point the money is not worth it to people to be uncomfortable. Is all I can think. It'd be more comfortable to not have any concerns and worries about what's coming. I think that for me, the reality is after you get past that, I would just be so worried being locked in a job that gives me no upward mobility. I'd be staying up late worried about that more than I would, man, where am I going to get my next closing from? Because once you start to get systematic like you are, you've always got irons in the fire, and you can always increase your level of activity should you need to.
Yeah,
So
that's so well said. Yeah, that's interesting to hear that difference in mindset. Some people lay awake at night and concerned where the next closing is, but we have that ability to go after that and pursue that and work hard for that, as compared to a 9 to 5 office job with you get your inflation raise every 3% every year, whatever it is, and you're stuck. I'm definitely the first one, and want to make sure that I can be in control of that. If I'm not working today, I'm not getting anything. But if I'm working hard today, I have the ability to make more.
100%. Well, let me ask you about, you bought your first house. Tell me, what have you learned from that process that maybe, and you went under contract on stuff and you looked at a lot before getting to the one that you ultimately closed on. Now you're doing a construction project. So all I know is you've got to have some things that you're going to be able to relay to customers differently than you would have 6 months ago. So what are those kind of key takeaways that you've learned that you're like, man, this will be impactful to somebody someday?
Yeah, certainly. It's been an interesting process to do it myself. It's just me, and so when I am with clients, a lot of times it's easier to ask the husband or wife or two people what they feel on this space, and to they bounce off each other a lot of the time. Sometimes they're in synergy and both love it, and sometimes not. But in this situation, with it just being me, kind of the buck stopped with me. So I found myself asking, what do I think of the kitchen? What do I think of this backyard? And I had to be the one to answer those questions. So it was a process. Like you said, was under contract for another house that wasn't right, but was able to continue the search, keep my hopes up. Went and saw a lot of homes, just like I do with many clients as well. So I already knew that was going to be part of the process, and kind of leaned into that. When I was able to find the right one, we were able to make it work. It was actually an off-market property. Originally, the sellers didn't want to sell. It was the reason they were originally interested in selling was because they were making a far drive commute for their children's school. And then summer came, and so they didn't have to make that drive anymore. And then I think it was probably 2 weeks into school, I got the phone call. Hey, I think we may be interested in selling. We can't make this hour-long drive one way every single day. So that's what we were able to do to make it work. And yeah, now since then I've knocked down walls. I have no floors in there right now. Hopefully the guys should be there painting. We're changing bathrooms around, a whole new kitchen. And I know you are experiencing that as well. So something that I wanted to ask you, because I'm stressed. I'm stressed about this. How do you handle when, so in my situation, some of these guys haven't been showing up. They aren't doing the best job. And how do you motivate them when you're the homeowner, you're not the general contractor, but you want them to do a good job, but you don't want to be the bad guy. So I find myself hey guys, how's your day going? Can I get you any? I'm going to 7-Eleven, getting them Gatorade and some snacks and stuff, but get this done for me. Have you experienced any of that as well with any workers?
Yeah. I mean, we
Yeah.
had a long road. I will say it's interesting. Just from a business person's perspective, watched different subs come through with different levels of leadership. You'd have the one-off guys who would come and be fine. You'd have the
Wait, you're
one-off
sounding
guys.
weird. Your like feedback is sounding weird. I don't know if Jess to you. Here, try again, or maybe it could have been my mic, but
Check.
it just
Can you hear me? Better.
yeah.
Try. Any better? Check.
Yeah, no, Jess, you sound good. Justin doesn't.
Same.
Justin, I don't know if he had a button.
It's weird. Or something. Say. Oops, hold on. Make sure it's on my mic. It's on the mic. Nothing's changing here. It's just switch over pods if I need to. Check. No better.
No.
I'm just check.
Hmm.
All right, let's flip over.
That's so weird. It just now. Yeah, out of nowhere. I just want to make sure the audio sounds good. Because
You can mute while recording, but you can't switch mics. Huh. That's weird.
you sound better. Like I can tell you're off of the mic, but you sound better than the buzzing bee.
I think I still am on the mic. Cool.
There you go.
All right.
We were talking about subs and how you have I would love to hear your perspective with you being the business owner and having employees for yourself, and to see how these tradesmen have been working in your own personal house.
Yeah, it was interesting watching because there'd be so many different styles of subs. You'd have big companies, you'd have small groups. You'd have the one-off guy who would show up, do the work, and get out. No questions asked. You'd have the one-off guy that would overbook himself like crazy. And so you knew, even though he said, I'm trying to get there, you know he's got 7 jobs and he's telling everybody the same thing. And he's doing a little bit here, he's doing enough to get going, and he's going over there and keeping them happy. And it's frustrating because you're like, finish one. Tell me you're not going to come. Like, that would just be easier, finish and then come here and be here until you're done. And then you'd have the large companies too that have, maybe poor leadership, or you've got the guy leading the crew who is really just a worker who's, kind of runs the show. And then you'll have them where we had one group here that, man, the guy fed his people really well. He was ordering pizzas. He said, where can I go for lunch today, and get them something? And those guys worked like nobody's business, And so I loved when I could see that. I'm like, man, sometimes you feel like it costs more when somebody takes their sweet time and is doing a poor job because, man, I've got carrying costs on this project. So when it takes you 6 weeks to do a 2-week project, I'm behind on other guys, and I've got other guys that I'm having to push back. And so you just get this domino effect versus just saying, okay, maybe you need to overestimate the amount of time, treat it fairly, get it done in 3 weeks, even though it's a 2-week project. I'll give you a little buffer time. And so that it's very frustrating. I don't know that there's a solution. I've come up with a lot of thoughts on this subject since going through this. And I thought you were going to ask like how I handled it almost emotionally. I was just going to say I didn't. I was very distracted all year. As frustrating as it was, I feel like I've got to help people in the future with that insight, though. I'm like, okay, I love the outcome of what we've done. Getting there was a real challenge. So I would absolutely love to be able to work with people to help do big remodels and help shed some light on experiences learned so that all of my frustration wasn't totally in vain.
Certainly.
So I think you'll do
you
the
can
same
help
for
me
sure.
do that. Yeah, definitely. Through your own personal experiences, that's something that the 5 years has helped me, both with this personal house, but seeing issues before they arise and staying ahead of them. So I think that that's something that we could use going forward if one of our clients is looking to do some major remodels. Let them know you're going to be over budget and delayed probably. So just start preparing yourself. But there are ways that we can help with that, whether that's getting them in touch with the right contractors. But I love to hear that you got to experience the good and the bad, and to see how somebody that spent a little extra money went above and beyond. But it sounds like those workers were happy, they got the work done, and now they spent 2 weeks at the job, and now they're going forward to do another job instead of taking 6 weeks, and still not complete.
Everybody being unhappy with you. Yeah, I don't understand the mindset because like I could be frustrated with someone not being able to start for 3 or 4 weeks. It's more frustrating when they start and then they're there for 2 or 3 times the amount of time they think it would take, just because they're not transparent up front with actually what's going on. And the other thing about running those crews in my mind is like, you've got a crew leader who takes care of his people. They get paid on time. They're always busy. Like it's almost like owning rental properties. If you're empty, you're empty, right? You're not getting paid. So when they're not on site working, they're not getting paid. So the guy that manages their schedule well and moves them from project to project gets them paid a lot more often than the guy who's always bouncing around, always getting yelled at by homeowners or GCs. I mean, I think it's just I think me and you should do, after you're done, we should do a lessons learned video on, hey, here's some key takeaways if you're getting into a remodel.
How long you got?
Well, all day. We'll do it all day.
Okay, yeah,
I'm going to write a
great.
book, I think. Maybe we'll write a book.
There you go. No, that sounds like a good plan. But I do think that this experience for us, even though it's been a stressful one for you, for me, it's been a couple of months. You've been over a year. So I know you've been going through it for a lot longer, but definitely have some good takeaways that we'll be able to use moving forward. Even one of a more recent one that I can share with you. Not being a homeowner and things that I didn't necessarily think through. I mentioned I'm redoing my master shower. And so I've got the faucet one side. I'm also doing a rain shower on top as well. But the dial to turn the shower on and off is right under the wand. And that doesn't make sense because now you're turning on the water and getting sprayed with cold water immediately. And
Yep.
so it was my lack of continued thought to have that. Now I had I had my plumber, we moved it to the other side. So now I can turn on the handle and the water can start running. But that was just lack of experience to think that through. I guess I would have wished I would have had a plumber help with that. They think of that every day, but they're not the ones that is going to be showering in cold water or turning it on. And
Well,
so
yeah,
I
that's
don't
the
know if
big
they
lesson
care.
I learned is that you cannot expect anyone to have any insight on any of this. Yes, they do it every day. Yes, they should know where the handle should go. But they should also think to just simply ask you, hey, we're going to do this
Ah,
shower. You want the handle here? You want the handle here?
mm,
What is your flow? But so often it's just, I think back, I thought we wouldn't experience that to the level we did on so many things that were like, guys, like, this is not hard stuff, but you can't assume, you can't take anything for granted. We had a guy come to the office one time to hang a TV in the conference room. Hey, we're going to put it right. We had a TV console. We just want to hang it right above the TV or right above the console, plug it in, wire it in. I walk out for 5 minutes and I kid you not, I come back and it would have been at the height of the top level of that window behind you.
you had it way up here.
Oh my gosh, it was 8 feet off the ground. I'm like, don't you hang TVs for a living?
Correct. You do
Like,
this every day.
what are you thinking? It was like it'd be like one you'd see in a gym, a home gym or something, in like a corner for. And so at that point, I realized, okay, we just we have to be somewhat obnoxious at times to get things the way we want them, and just ask the obvious questions. And so I kind of say that a lot now, of like, this may be obvious, but what are you thinking for this? What are you
Mm,
thinking for this? And it's like, we can't leave any of those little details, obsessing about those. I heard that. I mean, your super high net worth individuals, business leaders, these guys obsess on every little detail. And you've probably worked with some of these people before that you're like, but I think some of that is just experience and lessons learned, that knowing that those little details, those little conversations prevent so much backlash later on. So I'm trying to be more that way. I wasn't intending to, but I think I'm being forced to be after some experiences recently.
certainly. Yeah, it's interesting you make that point. I guess when I think of it, higher net worth individuals or just bigger ticketed homes definitely come with individuals that are asking those interesting questions about the property that in short term obviously provides more work for me, but now through experience I know that these are people that need to have those answers so that they feel comfortable moving forward, and those have been getting those answers for them helps them through the rest of the process. As weird or mundane as the questions may be, I'm happy to get those little detailed questions answered so that they can feel more comfortable moving forward.
Yeah, 100%. Um, so more on you, like on your home purchase. Go dumb it down as much as you can. Like, for that first time home buyer, like, what are the handful of little things that you just had not even yet considered? Like, was there surprise costs, surprise things to plan for? Um, yeah, what are, like, just on a really basic level, what are things that, like, a first time home buyer needs to be considering that maybe they aren't yet?
Yeah, so when first things that kind of come to my mind are the inspection. You want to make sure that you're inspecting the whole property. My home actually had a septic as well. So I went ahead and got that inspected. That's something that I've had clients in the past ask, do we need to? Do we not need to? The great thing about those septic inspections is for them to do the inspection is they actually have to pump the tank out. And
Yep.
that's how they're able to see what's in there. Is there any cracks? How's the tank look? So if anything, you've got fresh slate, clean tank, good to go. And then also peace of mind, hopefully, that the tank is in good shape. That was something that I wasn't too ahead on, but decided to do myself and made sense. Another thing for first time home buyers is understanding that things can be changed. We're kind of talking about our renovations ourselves. So I didn't fall in love with the home in its kind of current state, but what the potential could be. You can you can do a lot. Obviously, we're talking through how stressful it is, but at the end, when you're moved in and I'm moved in, I think we're going to be glad that we did it. So a lot of first-time home buyers, if they don't like the paint or even some of the layout of the home, that are things that can be changed. And I want to make sure the things that can't be changed, whether it's the location or the actual size of the home, those are things that are constant. But understanding that you can do things, you can change the floors, you can change the paint, we can make make the house your own here, and it doesn't need to be the current home that we're seeing, that we're walking into, and the sellers have lived there 30 years. And sometimes my clients, especially first-time home buyers, have trouble kind of looking past that. And I'd say that's something that takes time, but that's what you have to do. Look past their personal property, look past the colors of the way that they did it, and try to have a little bit of an envision of what you would do. Kind of be creative in that sense.
What about financial? What about any maybe expenses you weren't planning for or not thinking about that, kind of built up over time or came out of nowhere?
Yeah, so for me personally, when I did the inspection, the ductwork in the house was original. The house is 1966. In the inspection, it wasn't in awful shape. It was old, but I was expecting to get a few more years out of it until they got up in the attic more so and said that, yeah, it makes sense. The duct itself was peeling apart and had asbestos, not in the ducts itself, but around the outside of the ducts. So they were saying, if you're up in the attic or anything that could cause concerns. It's not in the ducts now, but in the
Right.
future, could it be? So I said, you know what, I decided to take care of that. That was an unexpected upfront cost, but from doing that, I was able to put more vents, more returns, especially one in my master bedroom as well, to help with airflow. So I think it was one that I was glad to do. But that's an expense that's up in the attic and you don't even see it. And it's several thousands of dollars to do that. But I wasn't anticipating that one, but had to do that.
You don't have to worry about it anymore. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yep. Correct. Another one is pool guy. I I'm struggling with this actually later today. I'm going to meet with him for a second time. And what do you do? What tell me what it is, because I actually live on a older block. I've got some elderly neighbors. So this pool guy, he's been doing the pools for the whole community for the last 10 years. And they're the ones that can't necessarily rake their own pool or do that. Well, I can do that just fine. So I'm wrestling with the idea of, do I need him or not need him? I know he
You have
checks
trees in your yard?
I removed the trees. I did have
Okay.
trees, and that was a lot of leaves were getting into the pool because it's not screened in.
Yeah.
But since then, I have removed the trees and have far
Okay.
fewer leaves. So I know that that's not an issue.
I was going to
So
say,
that's fine.
from experience, wait through maybe January, February.
Okay.
This is like true Florida fall is like January, February when all the leaves fall. And
Okay.
so it'll be coming from your neighbor's trees, not yours, right? They'll just be blowing over. And so
Great.
that's what I remember is like not being able to keep it. It just really took a couple times a week for a couple months. But I don't know. What's he charging you? What's a
One
ballpark on that?
170 a month. He comes once a week for that service. So for me, that there's a little bit of peace of mind there, making sure
Yep.
that the pool's kept up with, because I know that could be a big expense if the motor breaks or if the pool turns green, and you've got to start being worried about that. So as of
And that
now, I've been
includes
doing it.
chemicals and all that kind of stuff too. So
It
it's worth
does.
looking at
Yep.
your offset of cost there.
That's correct. Yeah, it's a saltwater pool, so there is some chemicals in there. But yeah, that's included in the cost. But maybe when I'm actually in there, I haven't been in. I'm not living there as of yet. So maybe when I'm there and every single day can be keeping up with it, maybe I don't continue the service. But I'll take your advice and wait till February and all the leaves
Yeah, once you
fall.
get in
And
there,
yeah,
figured out, I think the only other thing to think about is, as much as you like to travel, having that on autopilot when you're gone is a big deal. So just more lifestyle choices is like that. That's one of my favorite things is when we do leave and pool's cared for, the lawns, it's not like I'm coming back to like more chores. Like I love coming back and it's just like we left it clean and we walk in and it's like good to be home, versus it being a challenge to come home because you got to get to work immediately.
yeah, certainly. I love to hear that.
Just a
Yeah,
thought.
that's a good idea because yeah, after a long trip, that's the last thing you want to worry about is why is my pool pump not working?
Yep. Yep.
I
Exactly.
gotcha.
So, all right. So, moving into 2024? What's Tony's goals? What do you have planned for this year?
Yeah, certainly. So, big year, obviously. Like I said, just closed on the house. I'm excited to move in and start living life in my own house. So, my goals are personally, I'd like to kind of have more friends come by, come see my house, allow for more family to come in as well. So, hosting more is a part of that.
The big
I'm
Italian family dream.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
I'm getting a big island, so I wanna be hosting more. Cooking more is something that I've found that I actually kind of like to do. I've been enjoying that, and now will I'm certain that I'll be doing it a lot more as well. So personally, I'd like to continue to learn new recipes. I enjoy eating good and healthy, so getting good food, good nutrition in there, and learning how to prepare it for myself or for others.
Nice.
I've already got some trips booked. I'll share this one with you. I'm going to North Carolina in a couple of weeks. We're going skiing for a buddy's bachelor party.
Cool.
And we've got a few weddings planned for this year. So
So many
being able to
weddings.
a
You're just
lot of people getting
in that
married.
chapter.
It's that time. Yep. A lot of friends having babies, which has been fun. So being a part of kind of seeing their kids grow up and being a part of that where a lot of them are in the crawling phase. Some of them are starting to walk. So it's important for me to be there for my friends and for their kids as well. So
Are
personally, I
you
want
Uncle Tony?
to.
Are you just
I'm
Uncle
Uncle
Tony?
Tony. I'm fun
Nice.
Uncle Tony. It's a blast. So I really enjoy that. I really enjoy holding playing with the kids, giving the parents maybe a little bit of a break, and when the kids start crying or need something, here you go, mom.
Yeah.
Right back to you, mom and dad. You take
Perfect.
care of it. So more of that with friends. Professionally, I've got goals to sell a certain amount of sales volume, but also help a certain amount of people. I'm still looking for my one goal. I want to be a part of over $1 million property. Last year I
Okay.
did 995,000. It was
Yeah.
right
You're
there,
not living that one down.
right at a million, but it doesn't count. In my
Just
opinion,
for
it
anybody
doesn't
listening,
count.
Tony's running around talking about his $1 million deal. I said, Tony, that's not $1 million deal. It's nine
Doesn't
ninety
count.
five.
Right there. Yep, exactly. So over that 100 million, 100 million, $1 million mark, 100 million would be great too.
Yep.
But
That would do
that's
it.
on yeah, that certainly would. That's on my list is to improve that, and then also improving just the customer experience or the client experience. We've kind of been talking about what it's been like for me to purchase a home, and I was stressed. It was a heck of a process. For me, day of closing was not great. It was just me. The title officer at the end was like, "Do you want me to take a picture?" And I was like, "I don't really." I ended up taking one, but I wasn't concerned with the picture. I was concerned with how much I was wiring and all of the funds, and it's a lot of paperwork to sign for.
Yeah.
So every closing that I've been to, I've always wanted to celebrate. I've always given baskets, and it is a lot of fun. But now that I've gone through it, I can experience the level of concern, the level of like anxiety that you have.
Yeah.
It's exciting, but it's nerve wracking through as well to go through that. So that's something that I'm going to take forward with me knowing what my clients are going through throughout the whole process.
It is. And so we always do our Tuesday current client calls, right? And it's one of our days, and one of our themes is just touch a base. And based on what you're saying, I think we don't do a good enough job just saying, hey, how are you feeling? Doing a temperature check. What's going through your head? Oh, my wife's freaking out because the movers are coming and we're not ready. There's that. Man, we're trying to get planned to wire the money. We've never wired this much money, right? There's all these feelings that are going on. I feel like I've got to be doing something else. They all feel like, hey, do I need to be ordering like a survey? No, that's handled. We got to make sure we're talking about these things more than we do. And so, yeah, I think that's just something, and I'm preaching to the choir. Like, we all need to do better at just doing those little regular temperature checks. Now, how are you really feeling about this? You still excited? Is there anything I can do to help kind of bring some of that excitement back? Anything I can take off your plate? I think when we do that well, man, like, the business is going to continue to come and grow. Like, that's just not the focus anymore. It's delivering that like really wow experience that helps people get through it, not necessarily without any stress, but as stressless as possible.
Yeah, that's a really good point. More check-ins on not where we are in the process, but back to them. How are you feeling? Are you still excited? Sometimes I can get in the weeds of what's next. Okay, we're through inspection. Next, we have to make sure financing goes through, and that, instead of, okay, we're through inspection. Great, that was a huge hurdle. We can cross that off the list. We're moving forward. We're looking good. Everything's still good with you guys. And especially now during the holiday time frame, I had a couple of my clients that we're under contract with. We had to back up closing to a little bit later in January because holiday season, they had family come over. Unfortunately, one of them was sick, and now the wife and the child are sick. And so the husband's been stressed out because he's like, I can't move all of this. We've got a lot going on. He's going back to work now on top of that. So that's more of the emotion or the feeling. And we were able to work it out with the buyer. We got an extension for another week. And he, like, the sound of his voice when we were able to get that addendum officially agreed to and signed for that additional 7 days was so tremendously helpful for him. So there is a lot that happens in real estate and when you're under contract through the transaction, but also life just keeps
Life just
happening.
happens. Yep.
It's still happening during this time frame as well. So to keep that in mind, that we're obviously dealing with people, and I genuinely care about my clients and want to make sure that this is a smooth process for them, but life is still good for them.
Indeed. Well, that's awesome, man. Well, I'm excited for starting a new year with you. It's gonna be a good time. We got big stuff planned, so hopefully your vacations don't come too early. I guess you got one already, but I'm sure there'll be more. I'm certain there'll be more.
Thanks so much,
One a month.
It very well could be. But I want to make sure to stay on top of it. Big year, big goals. Before I let you go, I want to hear kind of your New Year's resolution or what your plans are for 24. Obviously, big change here with the brokerage. So,
We got a lot of change. We haven't talked about a lot yet, and so certainly excited to talk about that. Publicly more. My I guess word going into the year to keep it simple is simple. Simplify.
Simple.
I've had a lot of spinning plates, a lot of moving targets and whatnot throughout the last probably couple years. And so part of the brokerage change, is helping to affect that. Part of our new office location still being quiet about that is helping to affect that. The house being done, starting to affect that. I think I'm in a year of kind of recommitting to the plan. I know the plan works. I know the things we do are effective. I know what we're capable of. And so I've got some, and actually still finalizing, just because it's been a kind of a weird end of the year, still finalizing some quantitative goals. But from a qualitative standpoint, stripping away, starting to say no to more things.
Okay.
is really a thing, because I think I go through yes chapters where I add lots of things to my plate because I enjoy doing all these things. But then I'm like, okay, these are not the things I need to be doing. I need to be very hyper focused on a handful of activities. And so kind of recommitting to doing more of this, talking to you and our agents and being more committed to, our internal culture, and really continuing to push into that at a higher level, is where I find a lot of joy and fun. And that's really where where we're going to get the biggest bang for our buck in terms of kind of growing the business is, for sure.
Awesome. No, that sounds good. And I would say from my end, I've greatly appreciated having you and your guidance, and obviously Cheryl Coro as well, and her guidance throughout this 5 years has been amazing. I've learned a lot myself, but it wasn't alone. It was through you, and we've got obviously a lot of great agents within the office as well. But I thank you. I'm excited to hear that you're going to be able to close out a few big things that have been looming for a while, so that you can simplify this year and get back to the basics and the things that you enjoy. And like you said, work. We don't need to reinvent the wheel
100%.
here. We can be simplifying things, more systems, more processes to make it easier for us, and also a better experience for our clients.
Indeed. Well, you are the man. It was fun talking to you, buddy.
Thanks so much for having me on, Justin. I appreciate it.
Trying to stop it here.